A man was hiking through the Appalachian Mountains when unusual screams suddenly echoed through the trees. Instead of turning back, he followed the sounds deeper into the forest. But then, he saw this. He came face to face with another person standing in the woods. They stared at each other for a few moments before the hiker turned around and ran. Thankfully, the person didn't follow him, and he eventually made it out safely. But something about this person was definitely off. YouTuber Ryan Cooling was setting up trail cameras while hiking through a mountain forest when he suddenly heard a small stick snap behind him. When he turned around, a mountain lion was standing just 10 feet away. Ryan immediately reached for his bear spray, but instead of charging, the mountain lion simply sat down and stared at him.
Can you guys believe that? There was a mountain lion just walked up to me and just bedded down beside me. This is insane. I do have my bear spray ready, so if something happens, it's go time, but I don't want to run away too quick.
A short time later, it climbed onto a nearby rock outcrop, continuing to watch Ryan as he slowly backed away.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get the sense that he's trying to attack me. He definitely seems like a younger mountain lion, which could definitely be a higher kind of risk of an altercation just because they're younger and, a little unsure of themselves. Maybe he's not able to take deer out yet or something, but yeah, I'm definitely, I can be in a little bit of danger here.
Ryan believed it was a younger mountain lion, which made the encounter even more unsettling, as younger cats can sometimes be more curious and unpredictable than adults. Deciding not to push his luck, he calmly left the area while keeping his eyes on the animal. Thankfully, the encounter ended peacefully, and neither Ryan nor the mountain lion was harmed. Reddit user Ray the Master shared a photo that had been captured by a hunting camera on a mountainous property he knew well. The image appeared to show someone standing in the woods, with a surprisingly clear outline despite the poor lighting. Some thought the figure looked like a person carrying a bag, while others suggested an old basket or even someone dressed in Civil War era clothing. The poster insisted the image wasn't a hoax and said the camera had been almost new when the photo was taken in 2016. But who would be walking there in the middle of the night? A ghost, perhaps? On July 26, 2019, YouTuber Jessa J Vlogs and a friend were traveling and camping in a van through a remote mountain area. Earlier that day, while out hiking, they spotted a large rattlesnake and decided to take a different route.
You see it? There it is. Oh, wow. No.
Later, back at their campsite, they were cleaning their van when they noticed a man nearby. According to the two women, he repeatedly approached them, complimented their appearance, and refused to leave them alone despite their discomfort.
Did he ask you if we were staying here tonight? He said that, I don't know.
The campsite was isolated, and the man now knew exactly where they were spending the night.
Unfortunately, I don't think we can park here tonight because there was this creepy guy and he was like, oh, you guys are stuff ready, and all that kind of stuff, and wouldn't leave us alone.
Feeling increasingly unsafe, they made the decision to pack up their belongings and leave the campsite before dark. Whether the man had bad intentions or not, they weren't willing to take the risk. What would you have done in their situation? A group of people were visiting a cemetery in Spain noticed something unusual. One of the graves had been left open. Curious about what was inside, they lowered a camera into the opening. At the bottom sat an old rusted coffin that appeared to be slightly open. Then, something inside seemed to move. Because the opening was so small, it was impossible to tell what had actually caused the movement. Still, whatever caused the movement, it's certainly not something you'd expect to see inside an old coffin. So, what caused the movement inside that coffin? 3 family members went missing after setting out to float down Michigan's Muskegon River. A 9-year-old boy and 2 women had reportedly left from the Maple Island boat launch, but never returned home. Their vehicle was found near the area, while search crews discovered tubes and footprints along the river. Boats, drones, and emergency crews searched downstream, but there was still no clear explanation for what had happened. The family was left waiting for answers, unsure whether the 3 had drifted farther down the river or had encountered something else. Let's hope the family gets more answers soon.
Oh my God, really? We're coming, guys! Oh God. Oh my God. All 3? Do we have 3?
Good job. Good job here.
This photo taken in Oregon was shared on Facebook across the valley from Joseph and the Eagle Cap Mountains. From a distant ridgeline about a mile away, the photographer captured what appeared to be a massive figure moving through the snowy forest. The creature seemed unusually large, with long arms hanging well below its body. The photo was presented as possible Bigfoot evidence, but there was no way to confirm what the photographer had actually captured. YouTuber Bryce Newbold was hiking through Ohio's Shawnee State Forest when the trip quickly became more difficult than expected. After several minutes in the summer heat, he was completely soaked and exhausted. He started feeling really unwell.
But honestly, I didn't feel like being out here anymore.
He later discovered that his legs were covered in ticks or chiggers, leaving him with hundreds of painful and extremely itchy bites. The bites became so uncomfortable that they kept him awake through the night, and he eventually stopped filming because he felt too sick to continue normally.
You can see they're still on there.
After completing the hike, he returned home and found his legs covered in bite marks. Thankfully, he recovered. On September 3, 2013, the YouTube channel Utah Moto Trails uploaded footage from a family hike through Little Wild Horse Canyon in Utah. Everything seemed normal as the group explored the beautiful Slot Canyon with their children. They'd even checked the weather forecast the day before, and there was no chance of rain. Then, it started to rain. Moments later, a powerful wall of muddy water surged through the narrow canyon. The water rose rapidly. Realizing some of the group was still farther ahead, they immediately rushed back to find them.
Oh my gosh.
As the flash flood continued rising, the muddy water quickly covered the canyon floor, making it difficult to see where they were stepping. Fortunately, the rest of the group had already retreated to a wider opening after spotting the flood approaching. Everyone was reunited and waited on higher ground until the water subsided. Redditor Jim James Jimothy shared this trail cam photo after setting up a camera deep in the high Cascades near Crater Lake. The camera was mounted about 9 feet off the ground on a tree that was leaning almost 40 degrees. He said he set it up this way to prevent bears from interfering with it. But then, the camera captured this. He couldn't explain how a bear could have reached the camera, and how it only appeared in this single photo. He also said the tree was very large, it wasn't swaying, and there was no wind that day. The area was extremely remote with very little human activity, and according to him, the figure looked far too tall to be a bear or anything else. Although many commenters thought it must have been Bigfoot, I might have another explanation. I'm thinking it could be a large black bird like a crow or a raven. It would explain a lot. First of all, don't try this yourself. On September 2nd, 2020, the YouTube channel Kaboom Racing uploaded footage from a ride along the Boulder-Daru Trail. But only minutes into the ride, everything went wrong. As one rider attempted to cross a washed-out section of the trail, his front wheel struck a rock protruding from the cliff face. The impact stopped the bike instantly, throwing him over the handlebars and sending him tumbling down the steep mountainside. Fortunately, he came to a stop just before reaching an even larger drop below, but he was left stranded on a loose, unstable slope with almost nothing to hold on to. His friends carefully climbed down, reached him, and worked together to pull both him and his bike back up the trail.
Oh, motherfucker!
After a tense rescue, he made it back safely without suffering any serious injuries. Looking back, the rider said the outcome could have been far worse, and just a few more feet down the mountainside might have changed everything. A man was camping alone in an isolated mountain forest when he was suddenly awakened by loud crashing noises. When he stepped outside to see what was happening, he was shocked by what he saw. As he pointed his flashlight toward the trees, an entire section of the forest appeared to be collapsing into the river and being carried away. Without knowing the exact location of the footage, it's impossible to say what caused it. A flood, landslide, or another natural event may have caused the riverbank to collapse, carrying the trees downstream. Whatever the cause, waking up in the middle of the night to see part of the forest disappearing would be absolutely terrifying. I honestly don't think I would have believed my own eyes. Someone had installed a trail camera somewhere deep in a mountain forest. When they retrieved the camera months later, a few shots stood out. A large bipedal figure could be seen moving upright. The figure was difficult to make out because of the distance and vegetation. Some suggested it could have been an orangutan, while others argued that its size and appearance didn't seem to match one. And if it was as remote as the person claimed, it couldn't have been a person. That led to the obvious theory: Bigfoot. Of course, the footage didn't provide enough detail to identify the figure. Like, where exactly was this taken? A man was hiking through a mountain forest in the evening when terrifying noises suddenly echoed from deeper within the woods. The sounds were loud enough to carry through the trees, resembling a mix of human screams and deep guttural growls. Alarmed by what he was hearing, he pulled out his phone and started recording, hoping he could later identify whatever was out there. According to the man, there was something deeply unsettling about the sounds. They didn't resemble any ordinary animal call he had ever heard. He tried to spot whatever was making the noises, but despite scanning the trees, he couldn't see anything at all. I'm definitely not an expert on animal sounds, so if you recognize what might have been making those screams, let me know in the comments. And if it wasn't an animal, what do you think was out there with him in the woods? While driving through the mountains, this man slowed down after noticing something large in the distance. At first, the figure looked strangely human, walking upright with a movement that immediately reminded him of Bigfoot. But as it slowly got closer, the mystery disappeared. It wasn't a Bigfoot at all. It was a large bison walking along the side of the road. The uploader suggested the encounters like this could help explain at least some reported Bigfoot sightings, especially when people only catch a brief glimpse from a great distance. Honestly, after seeing how human-like the bison appeared from far away, it's not hard to understand how someone could misidentify it at first glance. A woman walking through a forested area in Norway noticed something unusual hidden in the trunk of a tree. It was a tiny face, almost impossible to notice while simply walking past. She pointed her camera toward it, revealing a remarkably detailed carving.
Around in Norway, you can find these little faces.
According to the uploader, similar hidden faces can be found tucked away in certain forests, waiting for hikers to discover them. Many are believed to be modern artworks inspired by Norwegian folklore, depicting trolls, forest spirits, and other mythical beings. At first glance, the face almost looks like a natural formation in the tree, but the more you look at it, the more obvious it becomes that it's simply far too detailed to be anything other than a carefully crafted piece of artwork. Unless you know where to look, you could easily walk right past it without ever noticing it was there. 2 men from Portland, Oregon, set out for Washington's Gifford-Pinchot National Forest in search of evidence of Bigfoot. They planned to return home on Christmas Eve, but they never did. After a concerned family member reported them missing on Christmas Day, the Skamania County Sheriff's Office launched a large search involving more than 60 volunteers, search dogs, drones, and even a US Coast Guard helicopter equipped with infrared technology. Search crews battled freezing temperatures, snow, heavy rain, and rugged terrain for 3 days. Eventually, the 2 men were found in a heavily wooded area. Authorities believe they died from exposure to the harsh winter conditions, citing the severe weather and inadequate preparation. Whatever they had hoped to find in the forest, their search ended in tragedy. In 2016, a group of wildland firefighters was working near the Trinity River in Northern California when they noticed an unidentified figure on a cliff above the water. One of them managed to take a photo. The figure appeared upright, with a hunched posture and noticeably broad proportions. According to the person who later shared the photo, the firefighters tried calling out to it, but the figure simply continued along the trail before disappearing around a corner. The area is extremely remote and rugged, which only made the sighting more interesting. The image still has them guessing what they saw. A man was hiking in the Colorado mountains when loud sounds started echoing around him. Of course, he started recording. The calls seemed to change in tone, almost as if more than one creature was responding from different parts of the forest. The recording quickly attracted Bigfoot theories, with believers suggesting the sounds could have been long-distance communication between multiple creatures. Colorado also has a long history of Bigfoot reports, which make the theory even more interesting. A witness was hiking near a hillside when a large dark figure appeared walking slowly uphill. Its size, upright posture, and proportions immediately led some to believe it was Bigfoot. Yet, skeptics suggested it could have just been a tall person wearing a hoodie. The footage didn't provide enough detail to settle the question. But if it were just a person, why would the hiker start recording? A YouTuber traveled alone into a remote mountain forest in Mexico, where local legends connected the river to Lajgerona. He set up his tent near the riverbank, surrounded by small candlelit altars that locals had placed as offerings. As night fell, he began hearing footsteps. Then, he heard this. The legend of Lajgerona describes a spirit said to wander near rivers, mourning her children. Of course, the recording alone couldn't prove that the sound came from anything supernatural. Although it sounds terrifying, especially at night, I think it sounds more like wildlife than a woman crying. A hiker was resting near the water when they noticed something crazy. A bear was driving a small boat. The boat appeared to be drifting on its own, while the bear simply stood there without making any attempt to jump off. It looked almost as if the animal had deliberately climbed aboard and decided to take a ride, but there was probably a much simpler explanation. The boat may have broken loose from its moorings, leaving the bear stranded on top of it as the current carried them away. But since I've been seeing those AI videos of dogs riding bikes, I'm definitely a little suspicious about this one. What do you think? In 1942, an RAF reconnaissance flight captured a photograph around 300 meters north of Bergen, Norway. At first glance, the image looked completely ordinary, but behind the trees, a massive shadow appeared across the ground. Because of the surrounding trees, some people believed the shadow looked far too large to belong to anything nearby. What's unknown is whether the crew noticed anything unusual at the time, or if the strange shadow was only discovered later, when the photograph was looked at again. In 2024, a woman named Hana Kobayashi missed her connecting flight in Los Angeles while traveling from Hawaii to New York. Instead of continuing her trip, she stayed in Los Angeles for several days and sent her family a series of increasingly alarming messages. She claimed she had been tricked, that her money and identity had been compromised, and that she'd been left on the streets. Her family became extremely concerned and reported her missing after they lost contact with her on November 11th. A massive search followed, with police, relatives, and volunteers trying to figure out where she had gone. The surveillance footage revealed something unexpected. Hannah had crossed the US-Mexico border alone, carrying her luggage and apparently entering Mexico voluntarily. Police said there was no evidence of foul play and classified her as a voluntary missing person, saying she appeared to have wanted to step away from modern life. Her family, however, had questioned whether she had intentionally disappeared and remained worried about her safety. Then, almost a month after she disappeared, Hannah was found safe. She later said she had been unaware of the huge media attention surrounding her disappearance and was focusing on her healing and peace. But she never publicly explained exactly what had happened during those weeks, and that still leaves a lot of unanswered questions. A group of men were relaxing near a river in Campo Grande, Brazil, when one of them started filming something strange in the sky. At first, it looked like a tiny patch of cloud, but when the camera zoomed in, two small white shapes could be seen. The objects appeared to remain completely still, making it difficult to tell how far away they actually were. There have been other UFO reports around Campo Grande. Is this real? If so, what did it capture? A man was hiking through the woods on a sunny day when he suddenly heard a deep voice coming from somewhere in the trees. It repeatedly screamed, "Help me." The voice echoed through the forest, making it difficult to tell where it was coming from. He stopped to listen, but whoever or whatever was making the sound remained hidden. The hiker felt disturbed and quickly left the area. A 25-year-old man named Keshav Jindal set out with a friend to hike Mount Albert Edward in Strathcona Provincial Park on Vancouver Island. What was supposed to be a challenging day hike soon took a dangerous turn. At some point during the climb, Keshav became separated from his hiking partner. When his friend returned to their agreed meeting point, Keshav was nowhere to be found. As night fell and he still hadn't returned, a massive search operation was launched involving 7 search and rescue teams, helicopters, drones, and dozens of volunteers. Searchers believed Keshav had likely attempted to take a shortcut toward a nearby lake before falling as much as 60 meters into extremely steep terrain. Injured and trapped on a mountainside with slopes estimated at 60 to 70 degrees, he was unable to climb back out. For nearly 4 days, helicopters repeatedly searched the area, even flying over his location several times without spotting him. Then, at just the right angle and in just the right light, an RCMP helicopter finally spotted Kachav waving a piece of white material from below the cliffs. A technical rescue team was lowered down to reach him before he was carefully airlifted to a hospital. His friends, who had spent days hoping for good news, were finally told he survived. People in Bogota, Colombia, reportedly spotted a strange black sphere moving through the sky. Several clips appear to capture the same dark object floating above the city. It had no visible wings or propellers. The footage quickly led to UFO speculation because the object didn't immediately resemble a conventional aircraft or drone. However, the clips were too distant to clearly identify what was being recorded. It could have been a balloon or maybe a drone, though no official explanation has been given. Now, this video is over, but for more hiking encounters, let's watch this video.